I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to another episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. And this week we're going to be talking about 5 takeaways from last night's Critics' Choice Awards, discuss what are the important things to take away from that award show, or do we have some new Best Actor and Best Actress potential frontrunners, what's going to happen in Best Screenplay, all that coming up next. But if you guys are new to the channel, what I do every single week is pick a different Oscar category and try to predict what's going to get nominated. We've been covering award season all the way since October. We've looked at every single Oscar category, did a deep dive into each of them, discussing some of the possible contenders and my predictions. As the award show has changed, of course, we've decided to cover and react and do some analysis on these award shows, like the SAG nominations, like DGA, like Golden Globes, and Critics' Choice. Later on in this week, I'm thinking Friday, probably more like Saturday, I'm going to be giving my predictions, final predictions for the 2024 Oscar nominations in all 23 categories. That won't be as much of a deep dive of a video as some of the individual categories. So if you want to hear my thoughts on the Best Documentary category, for example, 20 minutes, check that one out. But if you just want to hear my predictions, I'll do a brief explanation on that video. But we've had a lot of information and a lot of things that have changed since a lot of those videos, so there will be some updated predictions, although looking back on some of those videos, I was pretty accurate in most of them, so I do think they still hold up. But that's not this video. This video, I'm going to be talking about 5 takeaways from the Critics' Choice Awards. But without further ado, let's jump into my first takeaway, which is that the Best Actor category has a new challenger. A few weeks ago, I think the kind of battle was between Bradley Cooper winning or Cillian Murphy winning. Bradley Cooper and his movie seems to not really have been as well received as maybe we initially thought. He's still going to get nominated, but he's probably not going to be a contender for the win. And then it sort of went to Cillian Murphy, and he's been sort of the frontrunner. But with Paul Giamatti winning at the Golden Globes and then also winning tonight, I think this is huge. Now, let's be honest about this. The Critics' Choice Awards do not contain any members of the Academy. So this is not members of the Academy voting on their favorite performances of the year in the same way that the Screen Actors Guild are, or the Producers Guild, where if you look at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, every member of the Academy that's an actor is probably a member of SAG. Now, there's other people in SAG that are not members of the Academy, but at the very least, you have real Oscar voters voting on what their favorite performances of the year are, which is why those industry awards are a little bit more predictive and a little bit more valuable to us as Oscar prognosticators. But the Critics' Choice Awards in the past few years have been very accurate, and they do tell us things. Last year, telling us the support of Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you remember, that wasn't a guarantee. The Golden Globes actually gave a lot of awards to the Banshees of Inisherin, and it was the Critics' Choice that showed the support for Everything Everywhere All at Once and tipped off what will happen at the Oscars. Then even a couple years before that, they went 4 for 4 in the acting races and predicted and started to show off the support for Coda when they gave Troy Kotsur the Best Supporting Actor award there. They started to give us a little bit of an inkling of, hey, Coda is stronger than you think. They do indicate some of these momentum and shifts of momentum of what movies people like. So Paul Giamatti winning here is a big sign. And I remember seeing the movie The Holdovers back in TIFF. And one of the first things I thought of was Paul Giamatti can win this award if he wants it. Because Cillian Murphy, as we know, was a little bit more shy, who was living in Ireland. He's not really a Hollywood type. He's not as well known to everybody. He probably wouldn't do a lot of the campaigning. He was in a very strong movie, and he's the centerpiece of that movie. But Oppenheimer probably doesn't need him to win Best Picture. They will probably get Robert Downey Jr. the Best Supporting Actor prize, so they have an acting support there. Nolan's probably going to win for Best Director. It's going to win all of the technical awards. So Oppenheimer doesn't need the Cillian Murphy Best Actor winner prize to get Best Picture. As a matter of fact, aside from last year, where we had a lot of overlap between the acting winners and Best Picture, most of the time the Best Picture winner doesn't have multiple acting wins. They usually have one. So it would make sense for Oppenheimer to win for Best Picture and then only Robert Downey Jr. to win for Best Supporting Actor. Really, aside from last year, you have to go all the way back to 1998 with Shakespeare in Love to have a Best Picture winner also have multiple acting wins. And then before that, Silence of the Lambs, I think, in 1991, and there wasn't any in between. So we do very rarely see this. It's uncommon. So it would almost be, very strange in a way to very confidently predict someone like a Cillian Murphy to win. It makes sense why people thought initially Bradley Cooper, now Paul Giamatti, they sensed that there was potential for an upset. And Giamatti winning here, I think, is big. The fact that he was spotted in and out, and he mentioned that during his speech in a very sort of charming speech. The fact that he's been podcasting. The reason why I said he can win this is because he can campaign, because he is a well-liked character actor. I mentioned this actually in my original Best Actor predictions video, just that I think Paul Giamatti has entered a status of respectability, of character actor. If you look at Sideways, which was sort of his big breakout movie, that was 2004, that was 20 years ago, where we've seen Giamatti in a leading role and have fallen in love with him. And I think now that he's on the campaign trail, he really has been campaigning and talking to a lot of people, and he's just a charming, well-liked actor, versus Cillian Murphy, who is a well-liked actor in a well-liked movie, yes, but is, I think, a little less known to people. Really, his sort of big breakthrough starring role, aside from something like 28 Days Later, in terms of recent memory, has been something like Peaky Blinders, but that's TV. On the film side, I just don't think a lot of people know him that well. Now, am I saying Paul Giamatti is going to win the Oscar? Not necessarily. Cillian Murphy can still win at BAFTA and then, confuse things for sure. But Giamatti winning here, I do think, is a big sign of his possibility to win in this category. He has the path. Holdovers is a well-liked movie. He's a well-liked actor who's been nominated before, who has the sort of legacy support, where Cillian Murphy hasn't been nominated before. He's a little bit more of the newcomer. I'm not saying Giamatti is going to win, but this was a big win for his chances at an Oscar, and I think he only helped himself by giving an excellent speech. Then my second takeaway from the award show was that the Best Actress category has a new contender. So just like Best Actor, Best Actress, we have a new contender, and maybe even a stronger contender in Emma Stone. I thought with the critics loving Killers of the Flower Moon and Lily Gladstone and some of the individual critics awards like New York and LA and Toronto, that she would be the obvious pick here. So it was a little bit surprising to me that Emma Stone won. But what have I been saying pretty much in every video since the beginning of Oscar season? I think Poor Things will perform very similarly in terms of nominations and maybe even wins to The Favourite. And when you start looking at the connections between the two movies, the parallels are really scary. Of course, The Favourite was Yorgos Lanthimos' last movie. Poor Things is directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. That movie, The Favourite, lost out in Best Production Design and Costume Design to the biggest box office movie of the year, which was Black Panther. This time around, I think Poor Things is going to lose out to Production Design and Costume Design to the big box office movie of the year in Barbie. The movie lost out to Screenplay, The Favourite, to Green Book, which ended up winning Best Picture. Poor Things can definitely lose the adapted screenplay category to Oppenheimer, which could potentially is in the front runner right now to win Best Picture. Parallels there. But of course, what's the most obvious parallel? The Favourite won Best Actress for a charming, sweet actress in Olivia Colman. Now we have Yorgos Lanthimos' new movie, another great actress role with Emma Stone, a charming, sweet, funny actor. If you remember, Olivia Colman wasn't a guarantee to win. A lot of people were surprised when she won, myself included, because Glenn Close was the one that was supposed to win. She had the narrative. She was supposed to win. It was her time. These are all the things you hear saying. And in many ways, you hear the same things with Lily Gladstone. It's her time, it's about representation. Killers of the Flower Moon is a movie we respect, but not necessarily a movie we love, as shown by some of the wins or lack of wins that it got, despite its heavy nominations. But the lesson of the modern day Oscars, whether it be Olivia Colman beating out Glenn Close or Anthony Hopkins beating out Chadwick Boseman, is that these narratives aren't enough, that you do have to have real strong engagement with the voters and have a great performance that resonates. And Lily Gladstone's performance in Killers of the Flower Moon, I think, is more challenging. There was debate whether or not she would have been in the Best Supporting Actress category because she's just not on screen that much. She is a little bit more quiet and internal versus Emma Stone, which is very bold and exciting and over the top and a bit of an actor's dream. So if Emma Stone wins SAG, which is an absolute possibility, then she's definitely winning BAFTA. I'd be shocked if she doesn't win BAFTA, even if she loses at SAG. So she's in a really great position to win right now, and I think you have to keep that in mind, that narratives can affect an awards body like the Golden Globes, because they only have about 200, less than 200 members. But when we get more voting bodies, these narratives, they don't really stick. People don't follow the herd in the same way. They vote for what they think is the best. It's a popularity contest. They vote for the actor who they like in the sort of great performance that they like. So in awards like the Globes, Lily Gladstone can win because it's important, because it's her time. But in these larger awards bodies like Critics' Choice, which has over 600 members, closer in number to the Oscars than the Golden Globes are, we start to see these narratives fall apart, and we just go with, you know what, I liked Poor Things, I liked Emma Stone. And when we're talking about the Oscars, right now, I have Poor Things only winning maybe one award for Best Lead Actress, and Killers of the Flower Moon, I think, probably is only going to win one award, and that would be Best Lead Actress. So, which movie do they like more? I think Killers of the Flower Moon is a little bit more of a respect movie. Marty, the legends, well told, serious. But I actually like Emma Stone. It's a little bit more funnier. It's a little bit more well liked. I feel like Oscar voters are going to go to that area. I think they respect Killers of the Flower Moon, but I think they like Poor Things more. I think Poor Things is a stronger film. So when predicting and trying to give support to a movie, are they going to go, I'm going to give it to Lily Gladstone because I haven't given Killers of the Flower Moon anything? Or are they going to go, I'm going to give it to Poor Things because this is maybe the only chance Poor Things is going to get. And Poor Things, I think, is a stronger, Best Picture, more well-liked movie within the Academy. That may be the deciding difference. Then my third takeaway is that the screenplay categories are a complete mystery. Now, in terms of the nominations, I think they're pretty solidified. Best Adapted Screenplay, I'd be surprised if it was any aside from the sort of 5 that are the most obvious. Best Original Screenplay, the top 4 are pretty obvious, with the 5th one, I think, mostly obvious. But the winners are what I'm particularly referring to in terms of it being a mystery. Take a look at the Best Adapted Screenplay category, for example. American Fiction won tonight. But Barbie won in Best Original Screenplay. Well, Barbie's competing in Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars. So even though American Fiction won here, Barbie also won here. So what's winning at the Oscars? Is it American Fiction? Is it Barbie? Oh, but then also you have Oppenheimer. That's the frontrunner to win for Best Picture, right? Oh yeah, and 4 out of the last 5 Best Picture winners also won a Screenplay award. So who's to say Oppenheimer's not going to win for Best Adapted Screenplay? So now you have 3 contenders there. And then who knows, maybe Poor Things wins at BAFTA for Best Adapted Screenplay. Boom, next thing you know, now you have 4 contenders completely split across the major awards bodies. And, the WGA, the Writers Guild, are pretty inaccurate at predicting the Oscars just because a lot of the people sometimes and the movies don't qualify. So they're very inaccurate in terms of predicting the winners. So I think going to Oscar night, we're going to have a real sort of confusion as to what's winning the Best Adapted Screenplay, but also the Best Original Screenplay category, because, like I said, Barbie won here, but it's not competing in Original Screenplay. Anatomy of a Fall won at the Golden Globes, so maybe that will win. But The Holdovers is also contending. I think that's overall probably a stronger film. But then you have Past Lives, and is Past Lives going to go home empty-handed? Maybe this is an opportunity to give it to Past Lives. So you have, real confusion in these 2 categories. Right now, as it stands, I probably would predict Barbie to win for Best Adapted Screenplay and The Holdovers to win for Best Original Screenplay. But it is a absolutely unsure category, and I don't think we're going to get any more clarification unless something, like BAFTA maybe clears it up for us. But even then, because of the sort of weirdness with Barbie competing in original in some critics groups, but then adapted at the Oscars, we won't get a full, clear understanding of what those major contenders and winners will be in those 2 categories. So the screenplay categories are for sure kind of a confusion a point right now, and I think that was a big takeaway from the award show, is that it just made things actually even more confusing. Then the 4th takeaway is that Oppenheimer is still the frontrunner to win Best Picture. I actually think that the movie, even though it won Best Picture, wasn't an obvious, annoying winner in many ways. We do see this sometimes with La La Land or The Power of the Dog, where they just win everything, and then we kind of get sick of the movie and then surprise a Coda or a Moonlight win at the Oscars. I actually think Oppenheimer avoided that a bit just because Robert Downey Jr. won very early on in the show, and then the movie really only won 2 awards in terms of speeches of Best Picture and Best Director at the very end, ensemble kind of in the middle, so it didn't seem like every other award was Oppenheimer. But it still won the key awards. You know, it won all the technical awards and director, and picked up an actor, and of course the big one being Best Picture. And even the fact that it won Best Ensemble and Best Picture was an even stronger sign of support. But I think actually, funnily enough, losing in something like screenplay and losing in Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer felt like it wasn't such an overpowering, dominant, clear frontrunner to win everything that was going to get boring by the time the Oscars happen. So I actually still think that Oppenheimer kind of won the night because, of course, it won Best Picture. But to me, at least, and maybe you can let me know in the comments down below, it didn't seem like it overpowered the award show so as to make it unpopular and too much of a front runner before we get to the Oscar night. And then my fifth takeaway is that Across the Spider-Verse is still the frontrunner to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. I was surprised that a lot of people predicted The Boy and the Heron to win Best Animated Feature after the Golden Globes. You know, I mentioned in one of my takeaways from that video just how much I thought that it would be an overreaction if you were to predict that Spider-Verse was still the frontrunner, because at the end of the day, just like this award show, the Oscars have a lot of members, and when you do have a lot of members who can vote on every single category, what you get is the most popular movie that's also critically well acclaimed and the most emotionally accessible movie. Those are the movies that win. You know, in the same reason why, you know, Toy Story 4 didn't win the Globes, but won at Critics' Choice Awards and then went on to win at the Oscars, because everyone had seen Toy Story 4 and it was good enough and it was Pixar and there was a certain level of quality, so everyone voted for it. I think the same thing's going to happen with Across the Spider-Verse. Don't be trying to get too cute with it and zag and go with something like The Boy and the Heron. I think it's still unlikely to win Best Picture at the Oscars, just based on the fact that Across the Spider-Verse is a popular movie, a very highly seen movie, and it's also critically well appreciated and well liked and more emotionally accessible than a movie like The Boy and the Heron, which is a lot stranger and weirder than you would think if you haven't seen the film. So I still think Spider-Verse is the frontrunner to win for Best Picture, and I think, you know, people were so reactionary and went with The Boy and the Heron are starting to regret it. And if you do have Boy and the Heron in your predictions, hey, that's your own predictions, but I think you should look a little bit closer into the past history of the animated feature category and go with Spider-Verse. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the Critics' Choice Awards. What were your own personal takeaways? Do you have a sort of any premonition to maybe switch and predict Emma Stone or switch to predict Paul Giamatti? I'd love to hear your comments, your thoughts in the comments down below. But that's about it. Stay tuned to later this week, Saturday, let's say, for my final Oscar nominations in all 23 categories. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video. But that's about it. Until next time, stay tuned.